Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the UES Defiant. His hands gripped the metal railing as he watched the giant screen in front of him. 300 alien ships filled the darkness of space around Earth. Each ship was bigger than any city Jack had ever seen. Their hulls gleamed with bright energy shields that could stop weapons powerful enough to destroy entire planets. The alien ships belonged to the Galactic Council. They had come to Earth with a simple message: surrender in 72 hours or be destroyed. The Council called it complete pacification. Jack called it slavery. Jack was 45 years old and had been fighting in space for most of his adult life. His brown hair was starting to turn gray at the sides, deep lines around. His green eyes showed the weight of command. He wore the blue uniform of Earth's Space Navy, but the patches on his shoulders meant nothing to the aliens who wanted to crush his world. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations. These were good people who had chosen to stay when everyone else ran away. Chief Engineer Danny Walsh was checking the ship's power systems. He was a short man with thick arms and oil-stained hands. Danny had kept the old destroyer running for 15 years. Communications Officer Maria Rodriguez sat at her console, her dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. She was young, maybe 25, but she had steady nerves and quick fingers. Admiral Lisa Carter had already left Earth. She had taken most of the human fleet with her to the underground bases on the moon. The official order was to stand down. Let the aliens take what they wanted, save what humans they could. Jack had different ideas. The main screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. Ambassador Zethkar of the Hegemony looked like he was made of living crystal. His features were sharp and cold. Light seemed to move under his transparent skin. When he spoke, his voice was like breaking glass. "Humans of Earth," Zethkar said, "your time is ending. Your species has committed crimes against the natural order of the galaxy. You have spread to 3 star systems without permission. You have built weapons without approval. You have refused to bow to your betters." Jack felt his jaw tighten. The aliens called humans primitive, but they were afraid of what humans might become. That was why they were here with 300 ships instead of just one. "The Galactic Council has been patient," Zethkar continued. "We have watched your species for 50 years. We have seen your violence, your greed, your refusal to accept guidance. No more. You will return to your home planet. You will surrender all space travel technology. You will accept our rule, or you will face the consequences." The alien's crystal eyes seemed to look directly at Jack through the screen. "Your military leaders have already fled. Your ships are few and weak. Do not make this harder than it needs to be. Submit now, and some of your kind may survive." Jack stepped forward. Maria looked up from her console, waiting for his response. Danny stopped his work on the engines. The whole bridge went quiet. "Tell your council something for me," Jack said. His voice was calm and steady. "Tell them that Jack Morrison sends his regards." He made a cutting motion with his hand. Maria cut the transmission. The alien's face disappeared from the screen. Jack turned to face his crew. 200 people had volunteered to stay on the Defiant. They were engineers, gunners, pilots, and technicians. Most were young. Some had families back on Earth. All of them had chosen to stand and fight instead of run and hide. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jack said, "the aliens want to see what humans are capable of. They think we're primitive. They think we're weak. They think we'll roll over and show our bellies like scared dogs." He walked to the center of the bridge. The crew at their stations turned to look at him. In the dim light, his face was hard as stone. "They're wrong," Jack said. "We didn't crawl out of caves and climb to the stars by giving up when things got tough. We didn't build cities and split atoms and reach for other worlds by bowing to bullies. We earned our place among the stars the hard way. Now they want to take that away from us." Danny Walsh looked up from his engineering station. "What's the plan, sir?" Jack smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind of smile a Volf might give before a fight. "The plan is simple. They sent 300 dreadnoughts to break us. We're going to send them home in pieces." Maria Rodriguez checked her instruments. "Sir, our weapons are online. All defensive systems are ready. But sir, we're one ship against 300. The math doesn't work in our favor. The math never worked in our favor, Jack said. When humans fought with spears against machine guns, the math didn't work. When we fought fascists who controlled half the world, the math didn't work. When we reached for the moon with rockets that blew up half the time, the math didn't work, but we did it anyway. He moved to the captain's chair and sat down. The aliens have better technology. They have more ships. They have weapons that can crack planets, but they don't have something we have. What's that, sir? Asked Lieutenant Jake Sullivan from the tactical station. They don't know how to fight dirty, Jack said. They've been the biggest bullies in the galaxy for so long, they've forgotten what it's like to face someone who won't quit. They're used to enemies who follow their rules, who fight fair, who surrender when the odds get bad. Jack looked at the screen showing the alien fleet. The massive ships hung in space like sleeping giants. They were beautiful in their way, but they were also the tools of tyrants. We're not going to fight fair, Jack said. We're going to hit them where they don't expect it. We're going to use their strengths against them. We're going to show them that humans don't break easy. The ship shuddered slightly as the engines came online. Danny had the power systems running at full capacity. The Defiant was an old ship, but she was tough. She had been built to fight, not to look pretty. Sir, Maria said from her station, I'm picking up movement in the alien fleet. They're beginning to form attack positions around Earth. Jack nodded. Then it's time to get started? Jake, are our surprise packages ready? Lieutenant Sullivan checked his tactical display. All systems are green, sir. The debris field is in position. Our friends are waiting for the signal. For 6 months, Jack had been preparing for this moment. He had known the aliens would come. Eventually, humans had been too successful, too independent, too dangerous to ignore. So he had made plans. Hidden throughout the solar system were hundreds of automated defense platforms. They looked like space junk, old satellites, broken pieces of ships. The aliens had scanned them and dismissed them as harmless debris. They were wrong. Danny, how are our special torpedoes? Jack asked. The engineer grinned. Dr. Helen Brooks did good work, sir. They're loaded and ready. The aliens won't know what hit them. Jack stood up from his chair. Outside, Earth turned slowly in space. It was a blue and white marble, beautiful and fragile. Billions of people lived on that world. Most of them had no idea that their fate was being decided by a few hundred volunteers on an old destroyer. This is it, Jack said. This is where we make our stand. Not because we think we can win, but because some things are worth fighting for. Freedom is worth fighting for. The right to reach for the stars is worth fighting for. The future of the human race is worth fighting for. He looked at each member of his crew. They were scared, he could see it in their faces, but they were also determined. They had made their choice. Signal the fleet, Jack said. All units. This is Commander Morrison. Begin Operation Homecoming. Let's show these aliens what humans are made of. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The Council's dreadnoughts moved like sleeping giants through space. Their massive hulls blocked out the stars as they took positions around Earth. Each ship was 3 miles long and bristled with weapons that could turn continents into glass. Energy shields shimmered around them like soap bubbles, but these bubbles could stop nuclear weapons. Jack Morrison watched from the bridge of the Defiant as the alien fleet spread out in perfect formation. The Council had done this before. They knew how to surround a planet and crush any resistance. Their weapons were already charging, building up power that would soon rain down on Earth cities. Sir, the lead dreadnought is moving into firing position, reported Lieutenant Jake Sullivan from his tactical station. They're targeting the major population centers. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow. Jack nodded but didn't look worried. How long until they're ready to fire? 20 minutes, sir. Maybe less? Good, that gives us time. Jack turned to his communications officer. Maria, send the signal. Tell our friends it's time to wake up. Maria Rodriguez's fingers flew over her controls. Throughout the solar system, a coded message went out to hundreds of hidden devices. For months, these devices had floated in space, looking like broken satellites and chunks of metal debris. The Council's sensors had dismissed them as harmless junk. The aliens were about to learn they had made a mistake. The first surprise came from the asteroid belt. What looked like a large piece of rock suddenly split open. Inside was a kinetic impactor loaded with a depleted uranium core. The device activated its small engine and began accelerating toward the nearest dreadnought. "First package is away," Jake announced. "Impact in 40 seconds. More pieces of debris throughout the solar system began to move. Old satellites opened up to reveal missile launchers. Broken ship hulls split apart to show railgun batteries. Chunks of asteroids turned out to be hollow, filled with weapons that had been waiting for this moment. The Council fleet noticed the movement too late. Their scanners had been set to look for ships and energy signatures. They had ignored the small, cold objects that seemed to be nothing but space junk. The first kinetic impactor struck the lead dreadnought's shield generator. The uranium core punched through the energy barrier like a bullet through paper. For just a moment, a section of the alien ship's shields flickered and went dark. That was all Jack needed. "Dr. Brooks, you're up," he said into his headset. Dr. Helen Brooks was not on the bridge. She was 3 decks down in the ship's weapons bay, watching over her special creation. For 2 years, she had worked on a project that everyone said was impossible. She had built torpedoes that could phase through energy shields. The quantum torpedoes looked like normal missiles, but they were anything but normal. Dr. Brooks had found a way to make them exist in 2 dimensions at once. They could pass through solid matter like ghosts, then become solid again when they reached their target. "Firing quantum torpedoes," Dr. Brooks announced. "Time to target, 15 seconds. On the main screen, Jack watched as 12 small missiles streaked toward the Council dreadnoughts. The aliens saw them coming and powered up their shields. Energy barriers that could stop planet-killing weapons flared to life. The torpedoes passed right through them. Each quantum torpedo materialized inside an alien ship's hull. The explosions came from within, tearing through armor and critical systems. 12 dreadnoughts died in as many seconds, their hulls cracking open like eggs. The Council fleet erupted in chaos. Alarms blared on every ship. Commanders who had been confident just moments before now scrambled to understand what had happened. How had primitive human weapons penetrated their shields? "Jake, status report," Jack ordered. 12 confirmed kills, sir. Enemy fleet is breaking formation. They're trying to figure out what hit them. Good. Phase 2. Signal Captain Turner. Captain Steve Turner was leading a squadron of modified mining ships hidden in the asteroid belt. The ships had been built to crack open asteroids and extract ore, but Turner had found other uses for their equipment. Industrial plasma cutters made excellent weapons when pointed at the right target. "Turner here, sir. We're in position. Light them up, Steve." Turner's ships emerged from behind asteroids like wolves from a forest. The mining vessels were small and fast, designed to maneuver in tight spaces. They used the asteroids as cover, darting between the rocks to avoid the dreadnought's return fire. The Council ships tried to target the mining vessels, but they were too small and too quick. Their massive weapons were built to destroy other capital ships, not to swat flies. By the time they could lock onto one of Turner's ships, it had already ducked behind another asteroid. Turner's plasma cutters found their targets. The mining equipment cut through the dreadnought's engine sections like hot knives through butter. Without engines, the massive ships became sitting ducks. "Enemy ships are losing power," Jake reported. 17 more dreadnoughts are dead in the water. Jack allowed himself a small smile. "Danny, how are our engines holding up?" Chief Engineer Danny Walsh was monitoring the ship's systems from his station. The Defiant was an old destroyer, and she was being pushed hard. But Danny had been taking care of her 15 years, and he knew every bolt and wire. "She's running hot, sir, but she's holding together. The old girl's got plenty of fight left in her. Good, because we're not done yet." The Council fleet was trying to regroup, but Jack had more surprises waiting. Throughout the solar system, automated defense platforms came online. They had been disguised as communication satellites, weather stations, and navigation beacons. Now they revealed their true nature. Particle beam weapons that had been hidden in fake satellites began firing. Missile batteries disguised as asteroids launched their payloads. Even some of the space stations orbiting Earth opened fire, revealing weapons that the Council had never detected. "Sir, I'm getting reports from all sectors," Maria announced. "Our hidden weapons are engaging the enemy fleet. They're taking heavy casualties." On the main screen, Jack watched as more dreadnoughts exploded or went dark. The Council's perfect formation was breaking apart. Ships that had moved in coordination just minutes before now scattered in all directions, trying to escape. The invisible web of weapons that surrounded them, but the Council wasn't helpless. Their remaining ships began to return fire with weapons that could crack moons. Energy beams lanced out from the dreadnoughts, destroying the hidden platforms one by one. The aliens might have been surprised, but they were still dangerous. "Jake, we're losing platforms fast. How many enemy ships are still operational?" 253, sir. We got 47 of them, but that still leaves us outnumbered. "It's a start," Jack said. "Maria, open a channel to the enemy fleet." The screen flickered and Ambassador Zethkar's crystal face appeared. The alien no longer looked calm and superior. Cracks ran through his transparent skin like broken glass, and his voice shook with rage. "Human, what trickery is this? Your weapons should not be able to penetrate our shields." "No trickery," Jack replied. "Just human ingenuity. You said we were primitive? You said we were weak. You were wrong on both counts. This changes nothing," Zethkar snarled. "You may have surprised us, but you are still vastly outnumbered. Surrender now, and we may allow some of your kind to live." Jack leaned back in his captain's chair. "I have a better idea. Why don't you surrender? You've already lost 47 ships. How many more are you willing to lose for your pride?" The alien's face contorted with fury. "You dare threaten the Galactic Council? We have fleets throughout the galaxy. Even if you destroy every ship here, more will come." "Then we'll destroy them too," Jack said simply. "You wanted to see what humans are capable of. This is just the beginning." He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "All right, people. We bloodied their nose, but they're still dangerous. Time for the real fight to begin." The first engagement was over, but the battle for Earth had just started. The Council fleet was wounded but not beaten. They would come at the humans with everything they had. Jack Morrison was ready for them. The alien fleet pulled back from Earth like a wounded animal. The remaining 253 dreadnoughts formed a defensive circle 3 million miles from the planet. Their energy shields pulsed with angry red light as they waited. For orders from their commanders, Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching the enemy retreat. His crew was tired but alert. They had won the first battle, but everyone knew the war was far from over. The aliens would not make the same mistakes twice. "Sir, incoming transmission from the enemy fleet," Maria Rodriguez announced from her communications station. "Put it on screen." Ambassador Zethkar appeared on the main display, but he looked different now. The crystal alien's face was darker, and angry cracks ran through his transparent skin. Behind him, Jack could see the bridge of the massive council. "Command ship." "Commander Morrison," Zethkar said, his voice like grinding glass, "you have impressed us with your cunning. We underestimated your species' capacity for deception." "Not deception," Jack replied. "Preparation. We knew you were coming, indeed, but your victory is temporary. Even now, 2,000 more ships are traveling to this system. They will arrive within 72 hours. When they do, you're clever. Tricks will not save you." Jack felt a chill run down his spine. 2,000 ships? Even with all their hidden weapons and surprise tactics, the humans could not fight that many enemies at once. "You have one chance to avoid total destruction," Zethkar continued. "Surrender now, accept our judgment. Your species will be allowed to live, but you will never leave this system again." Jack looked at his crew. They were listening to every word. He could see fear in their eyes, but also determination. They had come too far to give up now. No, Jack said simply. We will not surrender, we will not bow, we will not be caged. The alien's face twisted with rage. Then you will die. All of you. Your world will burn and your species will be erased. From the galaxy, Jack smiled coldly. Maybe, but we won't make it easy for you. He cut the transmission and turned to his tactical officer. Jake, what's the status on our remaining ships? Lieutenant Jake Sullivan checked his instruments. 37. Ships still operational, sir. Most of our hidden weapons platforms are destroyed. We have maybe 6 hours of ammunition left at current usage rates. Not enough to fight 2,000 ships, Jack muttered. He walked to the center of the bridge and looked at the star map. The enemy reinforcements were coming from the direction of the Proxima system. They would have to pass through several star systems to reach Earth. An idea began to form in Jack's mind. It was dangerous, maybe suicidal, but it might be their only chance. Maria, get me Captain Palmer on the Neptune's Pride. Captain Rick Palmer appeared on a smaller screen. He was a thin man with sharp eyes and graying hair. His ship was a modified freight hauler that had been converted into a combat vessel. What do you need, Jack? Rick, I need you to take your ship and head for the Proxima system. I have a job that requires someone with your particular skills. Palmer raised an eyebrow. What kind of job? The kind that involves stealing an alien dreadnought. The bridge went quiet. Even Danny Walsh looked up from his engineering station. With surprise. Maria's fingers stopped moving over her controls. You want me to steal one of their ships? Palmer asked. Not just any ship, I want you to capture one of their supply vessels. The reinforcements will need fuel and ammunition when they arrive. If we can cut off their supply lines, we can even... The odds, Palmer grinned. Now you're talking my language. How do you want me to do it? Jack outlined his plan. Palmer would take a small team and use the wreckage from the previous battle to disguise his ship. When the Council supply convoy arrived, he would pretend to be debris until he could get close enough to board one of their vessels. It's crazy, Palmer said when Jack finished explaining. But crazy might work. Give me 6 hours to prepare. You have 4, Jack said. After that, you'll miss your window? Palmer nodded and cut the transmission. Jack turned to his reconnaissance specialist, Lieutenant Amy Foster. She was a quiet woman who had spent years studying alien technology and tactics. Amy, I need everything you can tell me about Council supply operations. How do they move fuel and ammunition? What are their weaknesses? Amy pulled up data on her console. They use massive cargo ships, sir. Each one is the size of a small moon. They're heavily armored, but only lightly armed. The Council believes their main fleets provide enough protection. What about their command structure? Very rigid, sir. They follow strict protocols. Each ship has a designated role, and they rarely deviate from their assigned tasks. It makes them predictable, Jack nodded. The Council's greatest strength was also their weakness. They were organized and disciplined, but they were not flexible. Humans, on the other hand, were excellent at adapting to changing situations. Danny, I need you to work with Dr. Brooks. I want our quantum torpedoes modified for a special mission. What kind of modifications, sir? I want them to be able to carry data instead of explosives. We're going to use them to infiltrate the Council's communication network. Danny looked confused. Sir, I'm not sure I understand. Dr. Helen Brooks spoke up from her station. I think I see what the commander is planning. We use the torpedoes to phase through their shields and plant viruses in their computer systems. Exactly, Jack said. The Council uses a quantum communication network to coordinate their fleets. If we can access it, we can turn their own coordination against them. While Palmer prepared for his mission and Dr. Brooks worked on the torpedo modifications, Jack began Phase 2 of his plan. He ordered the remaining human ships to spread out across the solar system and begin hit-and-run attacks on the Council fleet. The aliens expected humans to fight defensively, protecting their home planet. Instead, Jack's ships struck at the enemy's supply lines, communication relays, and isolated patrols. They would attack quickly, do as much damage as possible, then disappear before the Council could respond. Captain Steve Turner led his mining ships in a raid on the Council's forward base near Jupiter. The aliens had established a fuel depot there, using it to refuel their dreadnoughts. Turner's plasma cutters made short work of the storage tanks, creating a fireball that could be seen from Earth. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Colonel Beth Martinez commanded a squadron of fighters that targeted the Council's communication satellites. Without their long-range communications, the alien fleet had trouble coordinating their movements. The Council tried to respond, but their massive ships were too slow to catch the quick human vessels. Their powerful weapons were designed to destroy other capital ships, not to hunt down small raiders. After 6 hours of hit-and-run attacks, Jack received a message from Captain Palmer. "Jack, I'm in position. The supply convoy just arrived. 3 cargo ships and a light escort. I'm going to attempt boarding now." Jack watched on his screen as Palmer's ship, covered in debris and powered down to look like wreckage, drifted toward the Council convoy. The alien ships ignored it. Just another piece of junk from the earlier battle. When Palmer's ship was close enough, it suddenly came alive. Magnetic grapples shot out and attached to the hull of the nearest cargo ship. A team of human marines, led by Palmer himself, cut through the alien hull and boarded the vessel. The fighting inside the cargo ship was brief but intense. The Council crew was not prepared for hand-to-hand combat with humans. Within 20 minutes, Palmer had control of the ship and its valuable cargo. "Jack, you're not going to believe what we found," Palmer's voice crackled over the radio. "This ship isn't just carrying fuel and ammunition. It's loaded with planet-killer weapons. The Council was planning to use these to destroy Earth's atmosphere." Jack felt his blood run cold. The Council wasn't just planning to defeat humanity. They were planning to commit genocide. "Get out of there, Rick. Bring whatever intelligence you can carry, then destroy the ship." "Roger that. See you back home." The cargo ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The other 2 supply vessels immediately changed course and fled back toward Council space. The alien fleet would have to wait longer for their reinforcements, but Jack had learned something important. This war was not about territory or resources. The Council wanted to wipe out humanity completely. They saw humans as a threat that had to be eliminated. The knowledge made Jack's resolve even stronger. If the Council wanted a war of extinction, then humans would give them one. But it would not be the humans who were destroyed. "All ships, this is Commander Morrison," Jack broadcast to his fleet. "We have new intelligence about the enemy's intentions. They're not here to conquer us. They're here to destroy us completely. This is now a fight for the survival of our species." He paused, letting the words sink in. "We're going to show them what humans do when our backs are against the wall. We're going to show them why extinction is not an option for humanity." The hunt was about to begin. The war had been going on for 3 weeks now. Jack Morrison stood in the command center deep inside the asteroid base his people had built. Outside, the Council fleet still surrounded Earth, but they were no longer the confident predators they had been at the start. Human hit-and-run attacks had destroyed 60 more alien ships. The Council's supply lines were in ruins. Their communication network was damaged. Most importantly, their morale was breaking. They had expected to crush a primitive species in a few days. Instead, they were stuck in a grinding war with an enemy that refused to die. "Sir, we've finished decoding the data from Captain Palmer's raid," announced Specialist Gary Mitchell. He was a thin young man who worked with alien computer systems. His eyes were red from staring at screens for days without rest. "What did you find?" Jack asked. Gary's face was pale. "Sir, it's worse than we thought. The Council isn't just planning to destroy humanity. They've done this before. Many times." Jack felt his stomach drop. "Explain." Gary activated a holographic display that showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked hundreds of star systems across space. Each of these dots represents a species that the Council has wiped out. According to their records, they've destroyed over 300 intelligent races in the last 1,000 years. The command center went quiet. Everyone was staring at the display, trying to understand what they were seeing. "The Yarthak Confederation," Gary continued, pointing to a cluster of red dots. 47 worlds with a population of 12 billion. The Council destroyed them 800 years ago because they refused to accept Council authority. He pointed to another section. The Silk Road Alliance. 23 worlds that had developed faster than light travel. The Council decided they were becoming too advanced and eliminated them 600 years ago. Jack studied the map. So many red dots. So many dead civilizations. What reasons did the Council give? Always the same ones, sir. The species was too aggressive, too independent, too dangerous to be allowed to continue, the Council claimed. They were maintaining galactic peace, but the records show the truth. They were maintaining their own power. Maria Rodriguez looked up from her station. Sir, if this is true, then every species in the galaxy is living under threat. The Council decides who lives and who dies based on their own interests. Jack nodded grimly. And now it's our turn, but unlike the others, we're fighting back. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Lavra Bennett stepped forward. She had been studying captured Council technology for weeks, and her face showed the strain. Sir, I've been analyzing the biological weapons Palmer captured. The Council calls them pacification tools, but they're designed to do something horrible. What do they do? Jack asked. They target specific areas of the brain that control higher thinking. Intelligence, creativity, the ability to question authority. A population exposed to these weapons would lose the capacity for independent thought. They would become docile servants who could only follow orders. The room erupted in angry voices. Jack held up a hand for silence. They've used these weapons before? He asked. Dr. Bennett nodded. According to the medical data Gary decoded, yes. At least 50 species were subjected to this treatment instead of being wiped out completely. They still exist, but only as slaves, who serve the Council without question. Jack felt rage building inside him, but he kept his voice calm. So the Council gives species two choices, death or slavery. Yes, sir. And they've been doing it for over 1,000 years. Jack walked to the display showing the galaxy. All those red dots, all those dead worlds. All those species that had trusted the Council's promises of peace and protection. Gary, can you transmit this data to other inhabited systems? Yes, sir. But most species won't believe it. The Council has spent centuries building their reputation as peacekeepers. They'll think it's human propaganda. Some will believe it, Jack said, and some is better than none. Start broadcasting. Send everything. Let every species in the galaxy know what the Council really is. As Gary began transmitting the data, Jack turned to his military commanders. Lieutenant Colonel Beth Martinez had arrived from Mars with reinforcements. Captain Turner was back from his latest raid. Even Captain Palmer was there, his arm in a sling from his last boarding action. The situation has changed, Jack told them. This isn't just about Earth anymore. We're fighting for every free species in the galaxy. If we lose, the Council will continue their 1,000-year reign of terror. If we win, we give other species hope that they can resist too. Colonel Martinez leaned forward. What are you proposing, sir? We take this fight to them. The Council's reinforcements will arrive. In 48 hours, 2,000 ships. We can't fight them here and win. But we don't have to fight them here. Jack pointed to the star map. The Council's power comes from their ability to coordinate massive fleets across the galaxy. Their command structure depends on their quantum communication network. If we can destroy that network, their empire becomes just a collection of scattered ships with no way to work together. Captain Turner crossed his arms. How do we destroy a communication network that spans the entire galaxy? We don't destroy it, Jack said with a cold smile. We take control of it. Dr. Brooks spoke up from her position at the science station. Sir, I've been working on modifications to our quantum torpedoes based on the Council technology we captured. I think I can create a virus that will spread through their entire network. What kind of virus? One that turns their coordination system against them. Instead of receiving orders from their commanders, their ships would receive false orders designed to create chaos. They might even start attacking each other. Jack nodded. How do we deliver this virus? We need to get close to their main command ship. The virus has to be uploaded directly to their central communication hub. Once it's in the system, it will spread to every council ship in the galaxy within hours. That's a suicide mission, Palmer said bluntly. Their command ship is surrounded by the heaviest defenses in their fleet. We'd never get close enough. We would if they weren't expecting us, Jack replied. Gary, show me the council fleet formation. Gary brought up a tactical display showing the alien ships around Earth. The massive command vessel sat in the center, protected by rings of dreadnoughts. They're in a defensive position, Jack observed. They're waiting for their reinforcements to arrive before they attack. They think we're trapped here, waiting for them to gather enough ships to crush us? Aren't we? Martinez asked. No, we're going to attack them first. Before their reinforcements arrive, we're going to hit them with everything we have in one massive assault. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Palmer laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Jack, they still have over 200 ships. We have 37. Those are terrible odds. The odds have been terrible since this started, Jack replied. But we've learned something important. The Council has been winning for 1,000 years because no one has ever really fought them. They expect other species to fight by their rules, to surrender when the situation becomes hopeless. He looked around the room at his commanders and crew. These people had already done the impossible. They had stood against the most powerful military force in the galaxy and survived. We're not going to fight by their rules, Jack continued. We're going to do what humans have always done when faced with impossible odds. We're going to find a way to win anyway. Dr. Bennett stepped forward. Sir, there's something else. I've been studying the Council's biology. They're not just mentally rigid in their tactics. They're physically rigid too. They're crystal-based. Nervous systems can't handle rapid changes in pressure or temperature. That might be useful. How so? If we could decompress sections of their ships or flood them with extreme heat or cold, their crews would be incapacitated much faster than humans would be. Jack smiled for the first time in days. Environmental warfare. Attack their life support systems instead of their weapons. Exactly. We couldn't destroy their ships, but we could make them uninhabitable for the Council crews. And then we could capture them intact, Palmer added, understanding dawning in his eyes. Turn their own ships against them, Jack nodded. Now you're thinking like humans. We can't match their firepower, but we can outthink them. We can adapt faster than they. We can fight dirty in ways they've never imagined. He turned to address everyone in the command center. In 48 hours, the Council's reinforcements will arrive. When they do, they expect to find Earth defenseless and ready for conquest. Instead, they're going to find that humanity has taken the war to them. Jack paused, letting his words sink in. We're going to show the galaxy that the Council is not invincible. We're going to prove that even the mightiest empire can fall if enough people are willing to stand up and fight. The planning began immediately. In 48 hours, humanity would either win its freedom or die trying. But either way, the galaxy would never be the same. The Council reinforcements arrived exactly when expected. 5,000 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. The fleet was so massive it blocked out entire sections of stars. Each ship was a monument to the Council's power. Bristling with weapons that could crack planets, Jack Morrison watched from the bridge of the Defiant as the enemy fleet moved toward Earth. His own forces numbered 97 ships now. More humans had joined the fight as word spread about the Council's true nature. Mining vessels, cargo ships, even civilian craft had been converted into warships. But 97 ships against 5,000 was still an impossible fight. Sir, the enemy fleet is forming up with the ships already here, reported Lieutenant Jake Sullivan. Total enemy count is now 5,237 vessels. And they're all heading straight for us, added Maria Rodriguez. From her communications station, Jack nodded. Everything was going according to plan. The Council thought they had the humans trapped around Earth. They expected a desperate last stand, a final battle where superior numbers would crush human resistance. Once and for all, they were wrong. Danny, status on the engines? Jack asked. Chief Engineer Danny Walsh grinned from his station. She's running better than she has in years, sir. All modifications are complete. We're ready for Operation Exodus. For the past 48 hours, human engineers had been working around the clock. Every ship in the fleet had been modified with stolen Council technology. Their engines could now produce more speed than any Council commander thought possible. Their weapons had been upgraded with quantum technology. Most importantly, their hulls had been reinforced to survive what was coming next. All ships, this is Commander Morrison, Jack broadcast to the human fleet. Operation Exodus is now active. Execute jump sequence in 30 seconds. On the main screen, Jack could see the Council fleet spreading out around Earth. The alien commanders were confident. They had overwhelming numbers. They had superior technology. They had never lost a major battle in over 1,000 years. Jump sequence initiated, announced Maria. All ships reporting ready. Jack looked at his crew one last time. These people had followed him through 3 weeks of impossible battles. They had trusted him when everyone said the fight was hopeless. Now he was asking them to trust him one more time. Execute jump, Jack ordered. The entire human fleet vanished. One moment, 97 ships were orbiting Earth. The next moment, they were gone, leaving empty space where the fleet had been. The Council sensors detected nothing. It was as if the human ships had simply stopped existing, but they had not stopped existing. They had jumped to a position directly behind the Council's main command ship. Every human vessel appeared at the same instant, their weapons already charged and ready to fire. The Council had never seen anything like it. Human ships materializing inside their defensive formation, attacking from a direction that should have been impossible. Alarms screamed across the alien fleet as commanders tried to understand what had happened. All weapons fire! Jack shouted. 97 ships opened fire at point-blank range on the Council's command vessel. Quantum torpedoes phased through energy shields. Plasma cutters sliced through armor plating. Kinetic weapons punched holes in the massive ship's hull, but the real attack was not the weapons. It was Sergeant Tony Blake. Blake was a former Special Forces soldier who had volunteered for the most dangerous mission of the war. While the human ships drew the Council's attention, Blake and a small team used personal teleporters to beam directly onto the enemy command ship. The Council crew never saw them coming. Blake and his team fought their way through corridors filled with crystal aliens who had never faced human soldiers in close combat. The aliens were strong and their technology was advanced, but they moved slowly and thought even slower. Blake reached the command ship's central computer core in less than 10 minutes. Dr. Brooks had modified a quantum torpedo to carry a computer virus instead of explosives. Blake connected the device to the alien network and activated it. The virus spread through the Council's quantum communication system like wildfire. Within seconds, it had infected every ship in the galaxy that was connected to the network. The virus was simple but devastating. It replaced all legitimate orders with false ones designed to create maximum chaos. The results were immediate. Council ships began receiving orders to fire on their own allies. Navigation systems sent ships on collision courses with each other. Weapon systems activated randomly, targeting whatever was nearby. "Sir, it's working," Jake announced from his tactical station. "The enemy fleet is firing on itself." On the main screen, Jack watched as the mighty Council armada tore itself apart. Dreadnoughts that had seemed invincible just moments before were exploding under fire from their own allies. Ships that had maintained perfect formation for thousands of years were crashing into each other as their navigation systems failed. The alien fleet tried to shut down their communication network, but it was too late. The virus had already spread to every system, every ship, every outpost across the galaxy. The more they tried to fix it, the worse it became. "Blake, report," Jack called into his headset. "Mission accomplished, sir. Computer virus is active and spreading, but we're trapped up here. This ship is coming apart around us." "Understood. Get to the escape pods. We'll pick you up." Jack turned to his crew. "Maria, broadcast message to all Council ships. Tell them we're willing to accept their surrender. The response came from Admiral Kethmore, the Council's military commander. His crystal face appeared on the screen, cracked and flickering as his ship's systems failed around him. Human devil. The alien snarled. What have you done to our fleet? I've given you a choice, Jack replied calmly. The same choice you've given to 300 other species. Surrender or be destroyed. The Council will never surrender to primitives. Then you'll die like the tyrants you are. Jack cut the transmission and watched as more Council ships exploded or went dark. The virus was doing its work perfectly. The alien fleet that had come to destroy humanity was destroying itself, but Jack wasn't done yet. He opened the channel to every inhabited system in the galaxy. People of the galaxy, this is Commander Jack Morrison of Earth. For over 1,000 years, the Galactic Council has ruled through fear and violence. They have destroyed 300 species and enslaved 50 more. They claimed to bring peace, but they brought only death. On screens across the galaxy, beings of 100 different species watched as the Council's mighty fleet tore itself apart around Earth. Today that tyranny ends, Jack continued. The Council's power is broken. Their fleets are scattered. For the first time in a millennium, the galaxy is free. What you do with that freedom is up to you. He paused, then added, but remember this day. Remember that when the mightiest empire in the galaxy came to destroy a single world, that world fought back. Remember that even the smallest force can topple the greatest tyranny if it refuses to give up. The broadcast ended, but the message spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On 1,000 worlds, oppressed species looked up at the stars and dared to hope. The Council's reign of terror was over. Hours later, the last Council ship either surrendered or was destroyed. Sergeant Blake and his team were rescued from the wreckage of the command vessel. The solar system was free. Jack stood on the bridge of the Defiant. Looking out at Earth, the blue and white planet turned peacefully in space, unharmed by the battle that had raged around it. Billions of people were safe because a few hundred had been willing to fight for them. Sir, we're receiving surrender requests from Council outposts across the galaxy, Maria reported. It looks like their entire empire is collapsing. Jack nodded but felt no satisfaction. Too many people had died. Too many species had been wiped out before humanity could save them. The galaxy was free, but the price had been terrible. What are your orders, sir? Danny asked. Jack thought about it for a long moment. The war was over, but now came the harder task of building something better. Send word to all human colonies, he said finally. Tell them to reach out to other species. Offer help, not conquest. The galaxy needs to learn that strength can be used to protect instead of to destroy. He looked around at his crew one more time. They had done the impossible. They had faced the greatest military force in galactic history and won. But more importantly, they had proven that freedom was worth fighting for. Ladies and gentlemen, Jack said, let's go home. The legend of Jack Morrison would be told for generations across the galaxy. The human who turned the Council's greatest strength into their ultimate weakness. The man who proved that sometimes the smallest force can topple the mightiest empire if it refuses to surrender to tyranny. The galaxy was free. And it would remember